Good morning. Welcome to today's New York City Council hearing for the Committee on Sanitation and Solid Waste Management. Please silence all cell phone electronic devices and do not approach the dais. If you wish to participate in today's hearing, please fill out an appearance card with the Sergeant at Arms. Without further ado, Chair Abreu, we're ready to begin.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Committee on Sanitation and Solid Waste Management. Thank you, members of the committee, for joining us today. I'd also like to thank the members of the public who are here to testify. To minimize disruption, please place electronic devices on vibrate or silent mode. The purpose of today's hearing is to look into DSNY's work to address cleanliness across the city's streets and sidewalks. We will also be looking at 4 pieces of legislation. Street cleanliness is an issue that affects each of us. It is important not only for aesthetics and general quality of life, it is paramount to our individual and collective safety and health, both physically and mentally. Poor sanitation poses greater risks for the transmission of disease and pathogens, especially in cities like ours, which have high human population densities. We know that prioritizing sanitation improves stormwater management, promotes economic development, and heightens community dignity. Poor sanitation is linked with a lower state of emotional well-being. Many of us can relate. Cluttered environments and lack of organization can exacerbate mental tension. In addition to the millions of New Yorkers who must navigate the city every day, New York City's tourism industry drives people from all over the world to visit. And when they see the city's condition, they decide whether they wish to come back. For all New Yorkers to enjoy sound physical and mental health and the wide range of opportunities available in the city, we must ensure a high baseline level of cleanliness at all times. In addition to oversight, we will be hearing 4 bills today, the first of which is intro number 536, sponsored by Councilmember Justin Brannon, which would require certain stores that sell food for off-premises consumption, such as grocery stores, to post notices on the food donation web portal regarding excess food they have available for donation at least once per month. Stores would also be required to arrange for the retrieval of the food that they are donating and to make reasonable effort to arrange for the transportation of such food if requested by the recipient. The agencies would be required to submit a report to the mayor and the speaker of the council detailing the results of available food on the web portal and whether that food is expected to meet the demands of city residents in the coming year. After that, we have intro number 1279, sponsored by Councilmember Diana Ayala, which would delay until August 1st, 2028, the effective date of rules adopted by DSNY, which prohibit a supplemental sanitation service provider from placing refuse or recycling next to a public litter basket and instead be placed in rigid receptacles with tight-fitting lids. We will also be hearing intro number 1349, sponsored by Councilmember Eric Dinowitz, which would exempt generators of regulated medical waste from being required to engage in commercial waste collection agreements with private waste carting companies serving the city's commercial waste zones program. Finally, we have intro number 1370, sponsored by Councilmember Althea Stevens, which would require DSNY to establish an online mechanism for citizens to submit information and sworn statements of potential illegal dumping of refuse onto any public or private space when carried out during commercial activity and through the use of a vehicle. I look forward to the dialogue regarding these bills today. I would like to thank everyone on my team for their work on this legislation and oversight hearing preparations. I'll first pass the floor to council members who are, my apologies, they are not here. And now we will now turn over to the committee council to administer the oath.
Good morning. Chief Jeff Pitts, Chief Anthony Penalino, and Deputy Commissioner Josh Goodman, please raise your right hands. Thank you. Do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth before the council members and to respond honestly to council member questions? Thank you. You may begin your testimony when ready.
Good morning, Chair Abreu and members of the Committee on Sanitation and Solid Waste Management. I am Anthony Penalino, Chief of Department at the New York City Department of Sanitation, and I am joined today by Chief of Cleaning Operations, Jeff Pitts, and by Joshua Goodman, Deputy Commissioner of Public Affairs and Customer Experience. When I joined the department as a sanitation worker more than 20 years ago, the nature of our work was very different, with less technology, less data analysis, and bureaucratic red tape that meant some areas were not regularly cleaned. Every sanitation wanted to work hard and deliver a clean city, but that was hampered by a status quo that accepted less than perfect conditions in large parts of the city. Those days are over. In recent years, we have doubled down on these core cleaning functions with significant additional resources while also adding several new initiatives. The creation of Targeted Neighborhood Task Force, Highway Unit, Precision Cleaning Unit, and Graffiti Unit have been incredibly gratifying, as has the addition of specialized equipment to sweep our expanding network of protected bike lanes. Though there is more to do, as the parent of a young child, I wake up every day and feel pride at the quality of life this department is now working to deliver. Allow me to provide a few examples. In October of 2022, the Adams administration kicked off the trash revolution. Effective April 2023, set-out times for both residential and commercial waste became 8 p.m. instead of 4 p.m., one of the earliest set-out times in the country. Containerized waste would be set out 2 hours earlier at 6 p.m., encouraging people to use containers. DSNY also changed our operations to collect more of the trash earlier, and together, this ended a practice by which 1/5 of the trash was left out for almost a full day. Just over 1 year ago, container rules went into effect for all businesses of every type in New York City. These rules require businesses to get their trash off the streets and into secure bins. We wrote 70,000 warnings to businesses as this rule went into effect. We have written tens of thousands of summonses since. This has resulted in broad compliance. Restaurants, delis, shops, and other businesses on our commercial corridors now use bins to keep their streets clean and free of millions of pounds of trash. The first containerization requirement for residential buildings in more than 50 years went into effect November 12, 2024. All buildings with 1 to 9 residential units are now required to use bins. This can be either their own or the official NYC bin. This program was designed thoughtfully so that these discounted bins would be a reasonable responsibility for most New York City property owners as part of the trash revolution. To date, New Yorkers have purchased over 900,000 of these bins at www.bins.nyc or at NYC Home Depot locations. These bins have fundamentally altered the look and feel of our streets, replacing piles of black trash bags that attracted the rats and were unsightly, smelly obstacles for pedestrians. These bins may look like simple pieces of plastic, but they have led to double-digit percentage decreases in rat sightings citywide, with sightings falling 8 straight months in a row. Starting June 2026, this will be the only bin permitted for lower density residential trash to facilitate safer, cleaner collection. Containerization for all businesses and for 1 to 9 unit residential buildings accounts for 70% of trash already covered by containerization requirements. We have a plan for the remaining 30%, which is already in action. We are currently collecting trash from 1,100 stationary on-street containers called Empire Bins in Manhattan Community District 9 as part of the first full district containerization pilot. The pilot has taken those huge piles of trash bags generated by the largest buildings off the streets and instead is storing them in secure containers just like you would see in Europe, South America, or Asia. As Mayor Adams and Acting Commissioner Lohan announced this week, we plan to expand this pilot to Brooklyn Community District 2 in the coming months. This containerization initiative for large buildings is happening faster than anyone thought possible. While the Department of Sanitation will never enforce for enforcement's sake, during the last several years we have worked to hold property owners accountable for compliance with the very basic requirements around cleanliness. Property owners, our partners in maintaining street cleanliness, are required to maintain a clean sidewalk, to remove litter and debris from the first 18 inches into the street, and to set out waste at the proper time in the proper receptacles. We target ongoing enforcement in the highest density parts of our city, doubling down on this in the council's district designated rat mitigation zones. In addition to enforcing the basic rules of cleanliness outside every property in the city, we have implemented new strategies to combat 2 specific quality of life offenses: The first is our camera enforcement approach on the ongoing problem of illegal dumping. Illegal dumping is defined in the law as the disposal from a vehicle of at least 1 cubic yard of material, approximately 2 large trash bags. This occurs in areas that dumpers consider to be out of the way, like dead-end streets, underpasses, and perhaps worst of all, alongside cemeteries. For the first part of my career at DSNY, the department did not have a meaningful enforcement strategy against the crime of illegal dumping. We just cleaned and cleaned over and over again, while violators continued to afflict neighborhoods like East New York, Glendale, and Hunts Point. We have significantly stepped up illegal dumping surveillance under the Adams administration. Each illegal dumping summons starts at $4,000. The violator is required to pay the cost of cleaning up the mess. Importantly, we impound the vehicles that are used to break the law, and both fines and storage fees must be paid before it is returned. We are also using new strategies against abandoned or derelict vehicles. For years, complaints about these conditions would fall through the cracks because of bureaucratic confusion about whether a specific vehicle was responsibility of DSNY or NYPD. We have cut through these black holes of bureaucracy by working with the NYPD to create an interagency abandoned vehicle task force. This task force has led to thousands of additional vehicles removed from the streets, as reflected in the MMR. But there are strategic gaps in our enforcement authority, areas where the Department of Sanitation does not have the tools we need to do our job. And the Council has the chance to fill those gaps with legislation that has been introduced. We strongly support the passage of Intro 11, sponsored by Councilmember Botcher, which will expand the hours of the day that DSNY may enforce commercial cleanliness rules. I will speak about this in more detail later in this testimony, but DSNY is disappointed today's hearing does not include a discussion of this bill, and we urge this committee to add it to the upcoming hearing to support your stated goal of increased street cleanliness. I do want to thank the Council for its support of state legislation to increase enforcement authority around alternate side parking. While the state legislation did not pass this year, we will continue to advocate for Albany to support clean streets by passing this necessary legislation. We appreciate your support. I know many of you are rightfully concerned about selfish dog owners not picking up after their pets. As my colleagues have said here before, it is nearly impossible for us to enforce the law requiring dog owners to remove their pets' waste from the sidewalk because enforcement personnel has to visually observe the dog owner fail to remove that waste. We understand this is to be an important quality of life issue in many areas of the city. We have done patrols in areas in the highest number of complaints. We are exploring the use of mobile cameras to increase enforcement against these careless residents. We have also done and continue to do several ad campaigns and educational outreach on this issue. Early in my career, DSNY did not have resources to clean areas such as medians, step streets, or underpasses on a regular schedule. No one was sure which agency was responsible for cleaning them in a sustained way. The status quo answer to the question, why doesn't DSNY clean these areas, would be, well, that's the way it's always been. Status quo thinking is over. Since the administration created the first DSNY highway unit in 2023, we have added specialized highway cleaning equipment and implemented important highway safety trainings. This new unit has now cleaned 15 million pounds of debris off the highways, areas that visitors to our city often see first. Another new unit, our Targeted Neighborhood Task Force, provides regular cleaning to over 1,700 areas that had been left out of prior plans. I guarantee there are several in every one of your districts, areas where your constituents are finally seeing results, from Snake Road to the West 230th Street step streets to Conduit Boulevard. We took management of the city's graffiti removal program, increasing number of 311 service requests closed by 80%. And our precision cleaning initiative is meeting 21st century challenges. Just this summer, we deployed to the hub in the Bronx with a mobile command bus to ensure real-time cleaning as part of the interagency effort to restore safety and quality of life to that major intersection. While this has always been a data-driven agency, we are using new technology to streamline public space cleaning. For decades, cleaning condition logs were maintained manually and locally. We have removed barriers between districts and created one single digital log that is used across the agency. This means more areas of your district serviced in even a more timely manner. There's one more thing each of you can do to help. Rethinking how the trash is stored does not apply to waste set out for collection, but to public space trash as well. DSNY is proud that New York City street corners now have approximately 5,000 litter baskets of the future, which we call the Better Bin. The old green mesh basket has become an icon over decades of use, but is an icon of a different time. The old baskets are full of holes that let garbage juice and odors out while welcoming rats in. The new baskets have no holes for the first 8 inches and much smaller openings throughout. They are harder to misuse, take longer to fill up, and are far easier for sanitation workers to service. This is in addition to a modular design that means only the least expensive part ever needs to be replaced. We appreciate our council partners who have purchased Better Bins over the past 2 fiscal years with their discretionary funds. We are excited to work with your offices in the next year to keep Better Bins rolling out. We look forward to discussing other discretionary cleanliness spending that may work for your districts. I will turn now to the 3 bills being considered today. Intro 1349, sponsored by Councilmember Dinowitz, would exempt any business that produces medical waste from being required to participate in the landmark and groundbreaking commercial waste zone program. This program is getting real results for workers' rights, for pedestrian safety, and for sustainability, including by reducing vehicle miles traveled and emissions produced by commercial carters. Medical waste itself is handled by specialized carters, is already exempt. Under this proposal, a pharmacy or hospital or veterinary practice that generates any amount of medical waste, large or small, wouldn't need to comply with this important piece of safety and workers' rights legislation. That means you might have major areas of a commercial waste zone around hospital systems or clinics where the rules don't apply at all. That means more trucks on the road and more fumes in the air. The commercial waste zone system is a complete reimagining of a troubled industry. The idea of exempting all the regular trash from a place that also produces medical waste would be the first step in eliminating the entire program. In walking back this law, just as it is starting to get results, if that is the council's intention, then certainly it is your right to proceed. But if you do not wish to undo the commercial waste zone program, then please oppose this bill as we do. Intro 536, sponsored by Councilmember Brannan, will require certain retail food stores to post notices on a food donation web portal concerning the availability of excess food and arranging for the transportation and retrieval of such food. DSNY is interested in any opportunity to keep food waste out of landfill and to achieve this goal. Through the NYC food portal at Donate NYC, we already connect businesses and nonprofits with excess food and organizations that can use or redistribute it. However, it would require additional staff and resources to mandate over 15,000 retail businesses to post food donations once a month. We support the spirit of the bill, and we hope to work with Councilmember Brannan to align the bill with the department's existing resource. Intro 1370, sponsored by Councilmember Stevens, would create an online submission system for complaints about illegal dumping. This already exists via 311. Googling NYC 311 illegal dumping should take you right to the page. We are happy to work with the council member on any changes to the existing system, but do not feel that new legislation is necessary. Intro 1279, sponsored by Councilmember Ayala, would delay containerization requirements for supplemental service providers by 3 years to August 2028. DSNY has already engaged in more than 1 year of outreach around these rules, and this council has allocated $5 million to bids and supplemental service providers in order to facilitate implementation. As you all know, businesses and many residents are required to containerize their waste. Extending this requirement to supplemental service providers has been done slowly, thoughtfully, and with substantial resources. Legalizing the placement of this trash in bags right on the street for 3 more years is a mistake, and we oppose this bill in order to get the streets clean. As mentioned earlier, despite the stated goal of this hearing around street cleanliness, Intro 11, which would expand the hours of the day that DSNY may enforce commercial cleanliness rules, is not being heard today. I want to be clear. Right now, All the commercial cleanliness rules can only be enforced during 2 hours each day. That limits our ability to keep every one of your districts clean via quality of life enforcement. Extending these hours, as Intro 11 seeks to do, would give DSNY more tools to do our job, and we again register our regret at the missed opportunity that is taking place by not hearing it today. This hearing includes multiple bills that would allow more trash on the streets and does not include a bill that would allow us to take steps against this trash. It is very unfortunate. We look forward to your questions and the opportunity to discuss street cleanliness, concerns, and strategies with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. I would like to recognize that we've been joined by Council Members Carr, Ung, and Dinowitz. Councilmember Dinowitz, I believe you have a statement to make.
I do. Thank you. Thank you, Chair Abreu. Thank you, DSNY. It's great to see you here today in this beautiful new room. I feel like I'm on an airplane with a screen right in front of me. It's beautiful. I'm here today to advocate for my bill, Introduction 1349, which I introduced with Hospitals Committee Chair Mercedes Nycc. This bill would exempt generators of medical waste from being required to engage in commercial waste collection agreements with private waste carting companies serving the city's commercial waste zone program. As we know, Phase 2 of the commercial waste zone program's rollout is scheduled to be completed by the end of the fall for this year. Phase 2 establishes 2 zones in the Bronx, Bronx East and Bronx West, which a significant portion of my district is included. As part of the rollout, all businesses in the Bronx must enter into a contract with a zone authorized private carter before November 30th of 25, or they'll be assigned a carter at the maximum allowable rate. With this significant change on the horizon, many hospitals in the Bronx and New York City have expressed concern about how these changes may worsen their financial situations in the immediate future. Hospitals in New York City are facing a crisis. With the passage of that bill in Washington, our hospitals are set to face massive budget pitfalls with significant cuts to Medicaid, which so many of our constituents rely on for basic care and so many of our hospitals rely on for funding. In this current environment, burdening hospitals with further costs could result in reduction in patient care, something we all want to avoid, especially those of us who represent the Bronx, which has some of the worst healthcare outcomes in the entire city and in the United States. This bill will support our hospitals and patients by reducing administrative costs associated with the new requirements under CWZ program. Under CWZ, hospital systems like Montefiore, which has multiple campuses across multiple zones, many of which are in my district, would be required to contract with a separate carter for each zone, significantly increasing their waste management costs. The intent of the bill is to ensure big hospital systems can efficiently manage their waste in a cost-effective manner so their money can go towards caring for patients while ensuring labor standards are adhered to. The bill is chiefly focused on ensuring an essential public service, healthcare, is not on the chopping block as our hospital systems endure the draconian cuts from our federal government. I want to once again thank Chair Abreu for including my bill on the committee's agenda today, DSNY for being here, and encourage all of my colleagues to sign on and support this legislation.
I'm now going to read Councilmember Stevens' statement on the record. Thank you, Chair, and thank you to my colleagues who have signed on to 1370. I'm proud to bring forward 2 important bills today that address the issues that too often go overlooked, but have a major impact on the daily lives of New Yorkers. Intro 1370 will amend the city's administrative code to require the Department of Sanitation to establish an easy-to-use online system for reporting illegal dumping when it involves a commercial vehicle. Right now, too many New Yorkers try to do the right thing by calling 311, only to have their cases closed without real solution, and worse, many times those complaints don't even make it to DSNY. This bill would change that by creating a direct line to sanitation, ensuring complaints aren't lost in the system, and that residents can actually see action taken. Far too often, our neighborhoods, especially those that are underserved, are left to deal with the consequences of illegal dumping, unsafe conditions, unsanitary streets, and environmental hazards that undermine our quality of life. This legislation empowers residents to take an active role in protecting their communities by giving them a reliable way to report illegal dumping and hold bad actors accountable. It's about giving our neighbors the tools they need to keep their streets clean, safe, and livable. I want to extend my gratitude to my colleagues for supporting this effort, and I hope everyone will vote in favor. This is an important piece of legislation for our community and for the health and safety of all New Yorkers citywide. I'm now going to proceed to questions. All right, to kick us off, I want to begin by speaking about Intro 1279. This bill delays, for a third time, rules requiring that bids and supplemental sanitation providers place their trash into receptacles instead of leaving trash in plastic bags on the sidewalks. Over the last 2 years, our city has made remarkable progress getting trash bags off our streets and into containers, and we've seen that pay off. Our sidewalks are cleaner, we're seeing fewer rats, and our neighborhoods are becoming more comfortable. Intro 1279 would significantly delay this progress. Establishing a giant carve-out for bids to continue leaving trash on our walkways, to continue feeding the rat population, to leave our streets an eyesore. In this year's budget, the City Council allocated $5 million to bids and supplemental sanitation providers to ease the transition to trash containerization. Those funds are in the process of being allocated, and yet this bill would add a 3-year delay to set out rules. It sends the wrong message to spend $5 million on containerization and then effectively make those funds, taxpayer dollars, free money with no strings attached until 2028. Homeowners, businesses, and property managers have already stepped up to containerize their trash, and they have done so with the understanding that everyone would play their part so we all have the opportunity to live in a cleaner, healthier city. The proposed legislation is a monumental carve-out in the center of our city's sanitation efforts and a classic example of bad government at work. As DSNY is responsible for administering this rule, I have a series of questions about the implications. My first question, Commissioner, is bid trash special?
I'm sorry, special. No, bid trash is not special. Trash is trash.
Does it automatically repel rodents by magic?
No, it does not.
Do rats treat bid trash differently from how they treat commercial or residential trash, or is it all the same to them?
No, Chair. Rats love all trash.
So it's all the same to them.
Yes.
If we hung a sign on bid trash and said, "Dear rats, please leave this bag alone," would they obey?
I don't think they would. No, they would not.
Did DSNY spring this rule on bids overnight, or have they had more than a year's notice?
No. Well, this was not done overnight. This was a thoughtful process, and we worked extremely hard with all of the bids and supplemental service providers.
More than a year's notice? Did DSNY refuse to help bids with trash management, or did they offer an immense amount of flexibility and support?
Not at all, Chair. No one was refused.
What's better for public health? More trash on the streets or less trash on the streets?
That would be less trash on the streets, Chair.
Are you aware of any parts of the city that want to see more trash and rats?
In my experience, no.
So this legislation sounds like a bad idea.
Sounds like that.
All right, I'm ready to proceed to the next round of questions. Thank you for that.
Thank you, Chair.
The 2023 Mayor's Management Report announced the suspension of the street cleanliness grading program administered by the Mayor's Office of Operations and promised a successor program. Could you please provide a date by which the successor program will become operational?
Thank you for the question, Chair. The Mayor's Office of Operations actually already resumed the field inspections and the rating city streets of streets and sidewalks, and we are currently working with the Mayor's Office of Operations and fine-tuning that inspection data and the process now.
Which agency will perform this program?
That'd be the Mayor's Office of Operations.
Will the program include on-the-ground inspections, as in the last program, or will different information or data be used to score an area?
Yes, Chair. The basis of the program would still go off of field inspections.
Can you please describe the differences between the upcoming successor program and the earlier street cleanliness grading program, and what factors will be taken into consideration when scoring an area?
Sure. Thank you for the question, Chair. So there are a couple of different things compared to the old program. For starters, there'll be more transparency and interagency data sharing. There's also be more block faces that would get rated by this new program. It's also set to rate and get the expected realities and expectations of what the public sees. And there's also going to be some data, public sharing data scheduled to deploy, I believe, in 2026, something that the old program did not have.
In FY 2024, how many abandoned vehicles did DSNY remove from city streets?
FY 2024 was 7,938 vehicles.
In FY 2024, how many days were met with unplanned suspension and alternate side parking regulations?
Chair, that would be 7 unplanned and 40 planned due to holidays.
What led to the unplanned suspensions?
In 2024, it'd be 5 due to snow and 2 due to heavy rain or possible flooding.
So in my district, on the Upper West Side on 96th Street, the New York Times just covered a story about folks constantly engaging in pigeon feeding at the median on 96th Street and Broadway. I can't tell you. So what happens is during the day, there's a lot of pigeon feeding. I've seen a fair share of them. I'm not going to stop folks in the process because I'm not an enforcement officer. But sometimes I may get in trouble by my team for telling folks not to do it. The truth is that during the day, there's a lot of pigeon feeding, but then later in the day, the excess of the pigeon feeding, it stays because pigeons don't eat all the food, and then rats just come on in and they have a parade. What can we do? My constituents are asking, what can we do to address the pigeon feeding crisis on 96th Street, the median? If there's any littering enforcement that we can do on a constant basis, I'm sure would go a long way to addressing that issue there. Can you speak to that?
Sure. Thank you for that question, Chair. So upon our investigation, we saw the same. A lot of the issues were due to feeding of the pigeons and the wildlife. This property is a shared location between MTA and Parks Department, but of course we do go in and supplementally help where we can. What constituents can do is, of course, regular cleaning habits. We could also go in and try to do some enforcement. Enforcing that type of summons is difficult because we have to visually observe it happen and also gain ID from the person as well. But we could definitely go in and try to do that as much as possible. And then, of course, for the surrounding area as well, regular keeping for the businesses and home and building owners around the area could also help in aiding the situation by keeping clean streets, keeping clean sidewalks, and adhering to the set-out rules as well.
Can the agency make a commitment to send more resources there for enforcement, or are you not in position to do that at the moment?
No, I'm happy to work with you on that, Council Member. We could try to send more enforcement assets there.
Yeah, the Upper West Side, my Upper West Side constituents are really asking for that. I really appreciate your commitment to work with our office on that.
Absolutely.
Regarding litter baskets, in the FY26 executive budget, litter basket service was given a $29.7 million enhancement in FY26, increasing to $31.2 million in FY29 in the out years. Which litter basket service operations or programs will DSNY allocate these resources to?
So that funding went to baselining an additional 365 basket trucks citywide, which would ensure the minimum of 2-time service in the commercial corridors to those baskets.
I'd like to recognize that we've been joined by Councilmember Menon and Nurse and Banks and Susan Schwang. How does DSNY respond to litter baskets which are found to be repeatedly overflowing?
So we get complaints through multiple different outlets, whether it be through 311, council member, or field observations that our staff does, sees and reports. Typically, whenever we get those complaints, DSNY will send a supervisor to the location and first investigate to see why this basket is overflowing. There could be a number of different reasons. If it is overflowing, first we want to find the root cause as to why it's overflowing. Does it need more service? Does it need to be put on a different shift? And sometimes we do see that the basket is just being misused, and we've seen progress and we've been successful when we remove a basket from a certain area, the place does get cleaner.
Do you find that given the enhancement in litter basket servicing, that the number of complaints for overflow litter baskets has been reduced?
So as of right now, the overflow baskets are pretty much flat, and we do look at our routes multiple times throughout the year and alter where necessary.
And how does DSNY determine routes for litter basket collection?
Routes are determined based off the need on a particular basket. Some baskets need to be serviced more than others, and they are serviced through designated basket truck service and also through their regularly scheduled refuse collection. Any basket that's along a regularly scheduled collection route is to be serviced by the collection crew. And
Okay.
like I said, we do look at the routes multiple times and enhance where necessary.
I'm going to ask a set of questions on containerization, and then after that, I'll pass on to my colleagues for questions if they have any. DSNY has begun the installation of on-street containers, also known as Empire bins, to hold residential trash and recycling between collection days. And congrats on the expansion to Brooklyn Community District 2. It's exciting. Which party will be held responsible for working to keep the areas around these Empire bins clean?
Thank you for the question, Chair. Good question. Similar to current rules, the building owner or property owner is responsible for keeping a clean sidewalk 18 inches into the street and 18 inches around the Empire bin. And DSNY continues their cleaning efforts, well, on street cleaning regulations as well.
And so beyond the 18 inches, would DSNY be in charge of the other inches around the bin?
That is correct.
I've noticed in my district, sometimes the bollards comes off, cars are driving into the bollards. What's the plan there, and how quickly are they replaced when they get trampled on?
Thanks, Chair. So those bollards are placed strategically to try to keep those cars from being too close to the bin, so it doesn't impede our ability to service those bins. But we have seen cases where cars do park on top of them and they do get damaged. The damage is reported to us by our crews, our supervisors on field observations, or by members of the public, and we do dispatch people to look at the damage, survey it, and either repair it or replace it as soon as possible.
And in some situations, I've seen the door to these bins stay wide open sometimes, I think done intentionally. Have you gotten a lot of complaints of that, or is that minimal? Because I know it's hard to access without a key card,
Right.
but sometimes they've stayed open. And I'm curious to know what level of complaints you're getting on that.
So I personally never received any complaints of a door remaining open after it's being used. If you've seen that, please contact me right away, and I would definitely look to rectify that immediately. But these bins are designed to close automatically after it's being used and lock automatically. If for some reason that mechanism fails and it doesn't close or lock, we get an alert and we would dispatch out to the location to see what's going on.
What mechanism does DSNY use to clean the Empire bins?
So right now we have a vendor that goes out. It's scheduled to go out 4 times a year. We just completed our first round of cleaning, and they would be required to power wash inside, outside, and make sure underneath the bin is clean as well.
Has DSNY ever contemplated the use of power washing as a broader concept outside of these bins, like power washing sidewalks, for instance?
Chair, no, DSNY does not power wash in any other means of cleaning around the city.
What is DSNY's plan for the Empire bins in M9 after the pilot there concludes?
So we've seen some tremendous success with the Empire bins, and we are getting some positive feedback from members of the public and building staff. We're going to continue to track that progress and eventually one day to make this be the way of the future and strategize to make Empire bins go citywide.
How will DSNY prioritize which areas are containerized first? And will the agency prioritize areas which are next to districts that have already been containerized? For example, will districts next to M9 be prioritized for subsequent phase of containerization? Because the way I see it is you containerize one neighborhood. Rats are going to go to the surrounding neighborhood after that, right? Because they're gonna try to find their food source, would be my expectation. And then the neighborhood south and north, west, or east of the neighborhood that's containerized is going to bear the brunt. So I guess I'm just trying to figure out if you guys are factoring that in terms of which neighborhood gets containerized next.
Sure. Thank you, Chair. As we stated, we did just expand to Brooklyn District 2. I'm going to pass to my colleague, Deputy Commissioner Goodman, to expand on that question.
Thank you, Chief. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Our understanding, now we're not rodentologists, is that
Same
rats
here.
don't commute more than a couple of blocks, and that when you make changes in one neighborhood, it really leads to sustained generational change. That's our understanding. Certainly, proximity and routing are one of the things we look at. You know, the residential collection is the district boundaries are set. It actually doesn't help in any way to do a neighboring district. It makes no difference. It doesn't hurt, just doesn't make a difference. But the schools, there may be cross-district routing. And so that is an area where it is one of several factors we would consider. But other things like size of the district, density of the district, housing type are likely going to be more important in the rollout. That said, the goal has always been to get this citywide. So whether a district is 3rd or 5th or 7th, it's moving forward.
Can you please describe DSNY's current plan to comply with Local Law 36, which requires DSNY to establish a reimbursement program for eligible building owners who purchase a New York City bin?
Yes, sir. As you may have seen just this morning, the specific details of this program were announced, and I apologize for cutting it so close to the hearing. But Mayor Adams committed $14 million to getting this done, to making sure that all eligible homeowners, that's property owners in 1 to 2 unit buildings who also received the STAR or E-STAR tax exemption in either tax year 2024 or 2025, receive either funds to purchase one free bin or a rebate for one free bin already purchased. The plan, the specific implementation plan was announced this morning, and what's happening is all eligible property owners who bought a bin through bins.nyc or by phone, meaning bought it directly from the vendor, are just going to receive a check. In October, they're going to get a check. Everybody who hasn't bought one yet, or who bought one but maybe from Home Depot, where they're also available, will be able to purchase one or show proof of purchase, self-attestation of proof of purchase. They don't need a receipt, just they need to check, yes, I bought it, and then receive a check reimbursing them. So the key point here is, if you have not bought this bin yet, now is the time. By June of 2026, every 1 to 9 residential unit building needs to be using the official NYC bin. It is the cheapest, best, high-quality bin of its kind available. It is going to facilitate faster, safer, cleaner collection. And now that these checks are in the mail, so to speak, we really encourage everybody to go ahead and place their orders at www.bins.nyc.
What is the status of backlog orders and deliveries for containers from Otto?
At this time, there is no backlog of orders. There may have been delivery delays in the spring when there was a surge of orders all at once. We never felt it was a backlog. You know, this is not Amazon, right? It's not 2-day delivery. But people were getting their bins, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. There were a few outlier cases that were longer. At this point, though, deliveries are pretty much in a very narrow window. And anybody who has an issue can call 311 and we'll check on the status.
And my last question for now, does DSNY have any data available regarding diseases or bacteria originating from rats which have affected New York City residents? If so, what trends does the data support?
No, we don't track that data. We would have to defer to the Department of Health.
Thank you. I'd also like to recognize we've been joined by Councilmember Vernikov. I would like to pass it on to Councilmember Nurse for her questions, followed by Councilmember Banks.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, everyone. Just have a couple questions. One, I just want to thank you all for your help on a couple hot areas, and thank you, Chief Pitts, for your support on Myrtle Wyckoff and Broadway Junction. One, I wanted to ask, we know that the compost collection program enforcement error was canceled for political reasons. I'm wondering how soon after the November election will it come back on?
Thank you, Councilmember. It's nice to see you. And I also wanted to say I appreciated your commemoration of yesterday's anniversary. It was very nice to see those pictures. Obviously, we have a difference of opinion about the rationale behind that policy, so I'll just state that for the record and then answer your specific question. In April of 2025, we began
No,
writing.
just because I don't have much time, if you could just say when you estimate the
We have stated
return.
previously that full summonsing will resume no earlier than the end of this calendar year.
Okay.
We have a number of qualitative factors that we're looking at to determine whether January or later is the appropriate date. The fact is we are still writing summonses. It's a very important point. There is a belief that summonses are not being written. Summonses for the most egregious repeat
How many
offenders
summonses have you written?
are absolutely being written. I believe we have that. It's in the several dozen range. I want to make sure we get you the most
Several
up-to-date.
dozen or
Yes.
several thousand?
Several dozen
Several dozen.
to the most egregious repeat offenders. And the fact is, we're seeing tremendous compliance. You know, every week since April 1st, we have collected between 4 and 5 million pounds of compostable material at the curb citywide. Prior to April, we had 1 week in history where we cleared 3 million pounds.
Okay, I appreciate that. I just wanted to know the date. Thank you. And then for containers, I guess I'm just wondering, I know that we just spent a lot of questioning on this, but I would really, I just want to encourage you all to look at areas where, for example, I'll mention Fulton Street in my district where residents live on that street. It's a busy commercial corridor and there just isn't space for their personal trash containers. And so if we could prioritize containerization large at the scale that you're rolling out in those areas where people are struggling to be in compliance with the law, I think that would be really helpful to kind of stop some of the oppositional chatter about it. And then lastly, on the legislation around the healthcare facilities, I just want to personally say that I agree with you all. I think we should not be rolling back this or putting any delays at all on this legislation that's been taken so long to just get in effect. From my understanding, a lot of this waste is already exempt, and so I don't understand why we need to expand that. Everybody's going to have to participate in helping us divert waste, sort waste, and make this work. And so I just want to say that I'm not in support of that legislation, and I would like to see, I just want to understand a little bit more where it's coming from. I'm sorry if I missed the opening remarks from the member. So thank you, Chair.
Of course. Councilmember Banks?
Thank you, Chair, and thank you to Sanitation for coming this morning. Particularly want to thank you for the work you've done with my office along Linden Boulevard, and particularly also on East 94th and Avenue D. Obviously, consistency is important. And specifically, I want to talk about the cameras. DSNY has cameras in place to monitor illegal dumping. How many of these incidents of dumping are actually being captured in these cameras? And of those, how many result in enforcement actions?
Thank you for that question, Council Member. I will start by saying, obviously, DSY takes every aspect of sanitation seriously, but the illegal dumping is something that is the most offensive thing someone can do in someone else's community.
Do you have a number of the amount of enforcement actions that have been taken?
Yes. So since FY 2020, there's been provided 62 total, 18, I'm sorry, you asked for the total amount of?
Yes. How many incidents of dumping are actually being captured on the cameras? And of those, how many result in enforcement actions?
If you bear with me 1 second. I'll have to get back to you on the
Okay,
exact
well,
number.
if you can get back, I mean, it would be important that those numbers are being reported
I
to
could just say,
the
Councilmember, I have the
individual council members.
broad sort of range of them. We make about 300-ish impounds per year for illegal dumping.
Okay.
and we can get you more specific numbers, but that's the right ballpark of how many times we take somebody's car and charge them a minimum of $4,000.
Okay. Well, specifically, DSNY, can you provide a report on the fees collected from dumping-related infractions, and also specifically how much revenue is being generated annually, and where are these funds going directly?
Yes, Chair. So just to go back to your original question, it was 200 for 20 year-to-date 2025 was 299 impounds and 359 summonses. As far as the revenue, since the start of FY 2020, there's been, excuse me, 1,461,620.
Okay. And obviously, you can, if you can send that information to us to the committee as well. How many of the enforcement agents are currently assigned to monitor the dumping footage, and has staffing for this function increased over the last few years? And does the Department of Sanitation believe that the current staffing levels are efficient to meet the need?
So all sanitation police are interchangeable and go into illegal dumping.
Right.
So there's not a specific unit, but we do have right now a sufficient number of people reviewing these cases.
Yeah, I know there's been instances where people are doing illegal dumping, and we've heard stories where their plates are being covered. Is there any type of new technology to still capture those folks who are doing the illegal dumping? Because we know the problematic areas where it's constantly being, where the dumping is constantly taking place, and it seems like as sanitation is called, same next day they're back again dumping. So if they can cover their plates, they can continue to evade, the cameras as a deterrent. What is being done, or what is being explored to completely, listen, I'm not asking for 100%, but what can be done further to capture these folks, or to hold these folks accountable?
Thank you, Council Member. So our technology did advance with the license plate readers, but like you stated, sometimes the license plates can be covered. In those instances, if we see that a lot in a particular area, we will go back to a traditional way of doing stakeouts to try to catch the person in action visually. And we are actually just exploring the opportunity of possibly using drones and how that might be impactful to this operation as well.
Okay, thank you. Just want to reclaim my time back. When it comes to street conditions post cleaning, we constantly get complaints that residents are saying that especially those streets where they're complying and they're removing the cars, that the street cleaners are coming by, and it's like nothing's being done when they after they move or they clean a particular block. The trash is still on the block. So I want to know what are you exploring to see if the garbage can be cleaned a little more efficiently? Is there some type of vacuum system on the trucks? What is being done? Because it just seems like the garbage is just being kicked to the other side of the street, or it's not being moved.
Thank you, Councilmember. So the mechanical broom picks up about 1,500 pounds of litter on an average shift. It doesn't really do anything, is one of those persistent things that we always hear. But then we say, well, where? When? And it's very difficult to get anyone to provide evidence that the mechanical broom is not doing what I think that it's what people are really speaking to is sort of a broader concern about quality of life.
Right.
Because when we go out and watch it, it works. So if there's a specific area that you're concerned about, or if somebody says
I'll give you
we'd
some
love to go.
specific areas
Anytime.
where they're coming by, they're cleaning, but it's being done in vain. So if we can work on that and see how we can get those areas clean, so that the residents can be some degree of satisfaction.
Thank you, Councilman.
We'll greatly appreciate it. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Councilmember Dinowitz.
Thank you. That's a very aggressive timer. I prefer the ding dong that we get in change. It's okay.
10 more seconds.
Permanently
I'll
10
claim
more
my
seconds.
time back. Thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you, Chair. Thank you for being here. I have a few questions about my legislation. Many hospital systems have already consolidated hauling to improve efficiency and reduce costs. and their operations remain uniquely complex, often managing multiple waste streams that require different treatments. Can you explain about the conversations that you've had with the medical, with the
Yes.
hospital systems, and how you engage directly with the major hospital system to understand these challenges, and how the feedback is reflected in the commercial waste zone implementation plan?
So this outreach was done in several phases. Many years of those conversations took place before the law was passed in 2019. And that's why medical waste itself is exempted from being part of the commercial waste zone system. The issue at hand here is that there are upwards of 15,000 businesses in the city that produce some medical waste and also regular trash. So the large hospital system, but also the veterinary clinic, the CVS, the dentist's office, all of a sudden don't need commercial.
So I don't mean to interrupt. I don't want to get.
That's why I'm speaking fast,
And so, and I just want to ask about that because you mentioned it in your testimony. Does the department then see a distinction between large hospital systems and small veterinary offices as it pertains to this legislation?
No, sir. We see a distinction between residential and commercial trash. Commercial trash has been a Wild West for many, many years, and rolling back for one industry would open the floodgates to saying that this landmark legislation should not move forward.
Well, it's for an industry that produces a particular type of waste. I mean,
Which is already
it's
exempted.
not about
Yes,
the
sir.
industry; it's about the waste, the type of waste that's produced.
The medical waste is exempted.
Thank you for that. The other piece is the workers' rights, which I think we're all in agreement, very interested in. And in exempting medical waste in your original legislation, did you also exempt workers' rights from that type of waste?
Medical waste has to be handled by specialized equipment. There was a legitimate business reason for excluding it just from the legislation to begin with. The idea of, when you mention cost savings for the hospital systems, I mean, we could think of a million other examples. Gosh, maybe the cafeteria staff shouldn't have to pay the be paid minimum wage because that would save the money. Maybe there shouldn't be so many sprinklers in the hospitals because it's expensive to install them. This is landmark legislation that keeps our streets clean, our air clean, and sets minimum safety standards that are going to protect pedestrians. And exempting one industry is just the beginning of saying there's, as you mentioned, there are quite a few in your district. Your district will be less safe if this legislation passes.
Well, I'm going to go ahead and disagree with you there. I mean, we don't have the commercial waste zones yet, so to somehow claim that my district would be less safe is a little out there. And I would also point out that we're in agreement about the workers' rights. My question was, if you're already exempting medical waste, you are then saying you are exempting worker protections for one particular industry.
No, medical waste is a small specialized part of the waste stream, which is exempted for a legitimate safety reason, right? It needs specialized training and specialized equipment. Exempting the regular trash from producers of regulated medical waste you'd be talking about potentially millions of pounds of waste per year handled by people who under this bill would not have guaranteed worker protections.
Okay, thank you for your testimony. I do want to ask about one other issue that Councilmember Banks was talking about. My office allocated $60,000 for illegal dumping cameras. And this is a serious issue in my district, particularly on Webster Avenue between 233rd Street and Gun Hill Road, where we have tried time and again to get vehicles towed, to get enforcement action taken there. And one of the ways that we sought to address the cleanliness there was through illegal dumping cameras in various parts of the district. We even had a nice photo op where we installed the camera with the then commissioner. However, on numerous occasions, my office has reached out to DSNY to request the data. And we have not received it. And I will tell you the only thing we have received. We received a nice email that just said, we've put up 8 cameras. How great is that? We've put up 8 cameras. I know you put up 8 cameras because we funded them in my office. But the data we are repeatedly requesting is, what is the impact of those cameras? And if we can meaningfully reduce illegal dumping and enforce illegal dumping rules, we would love to help in that endeavor. But DSNY has not been a partner in that so far in allowing us to determine whether that's the case or not. Can you provide me, my office, with the data that we have requested over the past 2 years?
Council member, I'll have that by close of business today for you. That
I
information.
appreciate that very much. And in perpetuity, right, because this isn't one-off, we want to know from month to month, and our constituents that we represent are sort of expecting that we are all working together to make sure our city is a cleaner place, and we're doing our part. And so I would also ask that on a monthly basis, any data be shared with us. Any enforcement any enforcement actions that were taken be shared with us.
And relatedly, Councilmember, we'll take a look at who provided you with that unsatisfactory information in the past.
Thank you very much. It was none of you. Don't worry. Thank you very much. Thank you, Chair.
Saved by the clock. I understand Councilmember Vernikov has to run, so I just want to give her the floor for questions.
Thank you very much. Thank you for all the work you guys do in my district. I think everyone knows regarding this issue with buildup under the train trestles. So I just wanted to know if there are any plans to develop a citywide strategy to combat the buildup under the train trestles.
Thank you for that question, Council Member. So if you're having a particular situation at a particular train trestle, we'd be happy to work with you on that. But we do use our existing resources, such as our TNT assets in those particular scenarios to grab any dump outs or any 311s that might come our way.
I mean, I think the issue is with enforcement. We have cameras in some of the locations, right? And you guys come and clean it up, but 24 hours later, we're in the same situation. So I'm just asking if there's plans to develop a bigger citywide strategy to combat this, because obviously when we get constituent complaints, we call you guys and you do come clean it up. But this is a wider issue that I'm wondering how you're going to handle.
Thank you for the question again. And just to clarify, I apologize. Is this a matter of illegal dumping under the train trestle or just regular litter and trash? Just so I can
We're talking
properly
about,
answer.
regular littering and trash, yes.
Okay, because you mentioned cameras. Is it about a camera that you?
Well, I mean, I think it's both, right? We have the cameras catching the license plate, but the question is with enforcement.
Okay. So yeah, we could expand our enforcement efforts there and see what's going on. Again, in my experience in DSNY, we're no strangers to going to an area, cleaning something up, and then, like you said, 24 hours later, there's a mess there again, right? But that's not our goal. Our goal is to try to stop this from happening. And if that's going to require more enforcement in a particular area, we'd be happy to work with you on that.
But is there a citywide strategy to combat this? Not just in my district, citywide.
Yeah, so the citywide strategy is with our illegal dumping program, if it's a matter of illegal dumping. But if it's also a matter of just passive buyers, we go back to traditional stakeouts with deploying our sanitation police in those areas.
Okay, thank you. And then would more electronic waste drop-off locations and disposals be possible?
So we have multiple different ways electronic waste can be disposed of. Right now, we're happy to announce that we expanded our drop-off sites from 1 day a week to 3 days a week. They're now open Thursday, Friday, and Saturday between the hours of 9 and 5 p.m. We also have a scheduled safe event, safe disposal event, which is in every borough once per year. And there are a couple of other opportunities we could use that Deputy Commissioner Goodman could speak on.
Yeah, just to add that in the largest buildings, 10 units and more can sign up for a free e-waste box in their building, and then you don't have to go anywhere. When it's full, gets picked up automatically. That's called the e-cycle program. It's on our website and also via 311. And for many e-waste items, although not as many as it should be, the retailers are required to take it back, and we have the list online as well.
Okay, thank you. And then one last question regarding implementation timeline and implementation timeline on the new reimbursement from the recently passed law. Do you guys have an idea on the timeline?
Yes, ma'am. We anticipate that most eligible homeowners will receive their checks in the month of October. And if you believe that you are eligible and you don't hear something during that time, November rolls around, you haven't received your letter yet, please do call 311.
Okay, that's great to know. Thank you very much.
Councilmember Schwang.
Thank you, Chair, and thank our sanitation department, everyone working very hard in my district. And I'm very happy to hear the news. Finally, everyone could get reimbursed for the trash bins. I just wonder how people know when they're going to expect their check. If they did not get their check, what's the procedure they need to do, and which department we should follow up with, sanitation or finance, how to get the check, basically.
Absolutely, Councilmember. The program is being administered by the Department of Finance, although you can always reach out to us, of course. We're happy to help. But we anticipate that most eligible homeowners will receive their checks or letters about the voucher system in the month of October. So if early November rolls around and you haven't heard anything yet, just call 311, and a resident can call 311 and check on their eligibility and the status.
Do we need to fill out an additional form, anything?
No, if you've already purchased if you're an eligible homeowner and you've already purchased the bin from DSNY, you're just going to get the check. From the vendor directly, you don't purchase from DSNY. But if you bought it at bins.nyc or over the phone, you'll receive the check directly. If you are an eligible homeowner and there's no record of you buying it that way, you're going to get a letter in the mail that says you are eligible for this rebate. If you've already bought one, go online, tell us you already bought one, and you'll get a check. And if you haven't bought one yet, go buy one, and then you'll get the check. So people who already purchased the bin and need a reimbursement, they're going to get that automatically. People who have not yet, they will just have to go and do it and then get the reimbursement.
Okay, is there any particular website they should go?
They're going to receive a letter in the mail that addressed to the property owner that explains exactly how to use it.
So they should expect to get the letter by the end of September?
I would say in October, in the month of October. I think they're going to go out in early October, and everybody should get them in October.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Councilmember Ung.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Chief, for testifying today. So one issue which you guys have really, I appreciate all your efforts in my district dealing with street cleanliness, is about illegal vending and the litter that they leave behind. So is there any comprehensive plan to deal with this? Sometimes I get a lot of complaints from small businesses that they are being fined for litter that's not their litter, but it's really the legal vendor's litter. So is there a way to address this? I know it's difficult. I ask these questions understanding that these are difficult issues to deal with.
Thank you for the question, Council Member. So our goal around vending enforcement is to make sure that everyone stays compliant and that we have a clean area and sidewalks and a safe area for not only the vendors, but for the people that live in the community as well. DSNY's approach is governed under what city laws govern the vending. And when we go in, we'll go in and we'll see what illegal, if there's illegal disposal, if they're blocking curbs or sidewalks, and we would enforce that. In my experience, the people who are actually out there vending and doing it the right way are actually happy to see us enforcing the people who aren't doing it the right way.
So is there a way to distinguish, speaking of that, so is there a way to distinguish really whose litter it is? I think that's the issue that, in my area, there's just so much small businesses, as you know, and so much illegal vending, frankly, and a lot of just illegal dumping of these, cardboard boxes. I'll use my favorite, the cardboard boxes by the legal street fruit vendors. So then all these cardboard boxes are now in front of either like small businesses, in front of, frankly, these, bins that we're talking about. So end of the day, and I know you guys are working very hard to come and clean up, as fast as you can. But is there a way, because I get complaints, frankly, from everywhere, right? From pedestrians, and then when the small business gets fined, they're saying, this is not my litter. Is there any way to distinguish that?
So it's very hard to distinguish where it's coming from, but we do dedicate 4 teams a day with our illegal vending unit that have a pretty good handle on where it might be coming from. We do go out, and our first approach is to try to educate these vendors and making sure that they're abiding by the rules and the laws. And then we will educate and give warnings. We will summons if something is really egregious or if it's just a repetitive issue with the same vendor. Obviously, illegal vending would be another issue, and there would be grounds for us to actually go in and confiscate some of the material that they're using to do that illegal vending as well.
Thank you. No, thank you. And I generally do appreciate all the efforts that Department of Sanitation has been in my district dealing with this issue. And the second question I have is about the law that was passed about the fines, the extra fines, the increased fines that will be put on businesses that violate the stoop lines. I think the last we talked, it was some of these businesses are getting these summons, but we don't exactly have the numbers because they're going to the oath hearings. Is there any updates on that?
So citywide, since that was passed, there's been 5,761 issued citywide, and in your district, council member, was 554 of those, which is a high number.
I believe that. Is there any way to contact my office about the actual businesses that's been getting that?
Yeah, we'll definitely work with you on that.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
You got it.
Councilmember Menon?
Great, thank you so much. Well, first, I just want to begin by saying that I strongly support what the chair said about containerization and having no delays in implementation. It's so important for our city. So just wanted to start with that. I want to really talk about the daily trash pickups because, as you know, my office is funding 4 times a day daily trash pickups, which is the highest amount our district has ever had. But one of the issues we are receiving from constituents is we almost on a weekly basis still receive photos of overflowing litter baskets. What can be done about this?
Thank you. And Councilman, that was just to clarify, that's on 4-day pickup on litter baskets,
Yes.
correct? Okay. Thank you for the question. So if you're still receiving some areas with overflowing baskets, I'm happy to work with you and send my staff out there, and we could send people out to do walkthroughs with you to see what the root cause of why those baskets are overflowing with that amount of service, and we'll investigate and see what's going on.
Great, thank you. That would be incredibly helpful. We also still receive many complaints about dog waste. Now, as you know, I had a bill that the committee heard to provide dog waste receptacle, plastic bags, basically, on the litter baskets. What is the status of that bill?
So I think we'd be happy to work out some type of pilot in that matter. One thing, we don't have the resources to continuously reload these things with bags. So we'd be happy to work with you and try something out in a joint effort. Maybe you might have a community group that would look to assist us in that.
Okay, great. Thank you. I'm definitely going to take you up on that because we really want to tackle this issue of dog waste. Thank you so much, Chair.
It would be great to have a pilot in Councilmember Menon's district on this issue. She's very passionate about it. So I'm glad you said that today, Commissioner. Pivoting now to highway cleaning. In FY 2024, DSNY reportedly tripled the number of miles cleaned compared to the prior year. What do these operations look like at this level, and how have they expanded since last year?
Thank you for the question. Highway is something we're very proud about since the implementation. So when we started out with general litter picking along the highways. That would be behind the barriers or grassy knolls, if you will. As we expanded, we incorporated a lot of mechanical sweeping convoys that will go out. That allowed us to get more progress on the highways and cover more ground in a quicker time. When you go out on the highways, you'll either see either one of those convoys, either a structured mechanical sweeping operation or a team of people cleaning up on the side of the highway. But it's something we're very proud of since we started.
And how have they expanded since last year?
Just in that, like I said, Councilmember, we started with the litter picking, we expanded into a broader mechanicalized operation.
Sorry, go ahead.
Okay.
And just to clarify, because I know a tripling might seem like incredible, it's because the 2 years ago was only a partial year. So it's not. It did increase and it did expand, but it's not really triple. It's a longer time
I appreciate that context. Which highways were cleaned most frequently over the last 12 months, and how does DSNY decide which highways to clean?
Thank you, Chair. So we generally schedule all of our highways to be serviced anywhere between a 30 and 60-day window. But I do have numbers on the most clean highways, which would be the FDR was 11 times, Major Deegan was 10 times, Cross Bronx was 8 times, Bruckner was 10 times, and the BQE was 7 times.
What about do you have any data on the West Side Highway?
Not in front of me right now, but I could get that for you.
Yeah, it's It's not as bad as other highways, but I think we can get some love up in the Upper West Side up to Washington Heights.
I think Chief Pitts would like to say something on
Yeah,
that.
Councilman, I'm aware. You're talking about the cutouts like
Yeah.
in the 90s? Yeah, we're aware of that. So we're actually, we have highway monitoring that for that instance, because we have the cab drivers and people who just pull over and just dump out. But we'll pay more attention to it.
Thank you so much. Regarding precision cleaning, DSNY's precision cleaning initiatives provide targeted cleaning to high-need areas such as park perimeters and illegal dumping hotspots. How does DSNY determine which areas should be addressed by this initiative?
So our PCI resources are deployed dynamically based off of our field observations from our supervisors, 311 data, anything that comes in from a council member or other elected official, or through DSNY leadership. I'm happy to announce as I stated in my testimony, a implementation of a new digitalized program that we're using, the cleaning condition log. Cleaning condition logs used to be done manually and would take some time for us to process it and get to the actual root cause of the issue. Now having this digitalized system kind of centralizes everything and streamlines all the information so we could get to it quicker.
Can you please speak to DSNY's role in the mayor's homeless encampment task force?
Sure, thank you. So DSNY is a supporting agency when it comes to homeless enforcement task force. We are part of that task force along with NYPD and DHS. Typically, we would go in, DHS would offer services, and then DSNY would be the supporting agency just cleaning up whatever's left over after the fact. Whatever the client deems to be personal property is either taken with the client or vouchered by NYPD. Whatever the client deems that they want to dispose of is what DSNY would clean up.
How many staff are dedicated to this task force?
We use existing resources on that.
So there's not a specific, it's just on a case-by-case basis then?
Yeah, we'll pull from various different existing resources to go on those operations.
What is the approximate cost for DSNY's involvement in this task force?
That would be zero cost if we're using
Existing resources, right? Are DSNY staff permitted to issue a notice of violation while performing task force operations, or are they present for cleanup purposes only?
We're present for cleanup purposes. We do not issue summonses on these operations.
If permitted, what are the most common violations cited during task force operations?
We do not issue summonses on those.
If seizure of personal property occurs during task force operations, that's already covered. All right, graffiti cleaning. When receiving a graffiti service request, how does DSNY determine which pieces are tolerable and perhaps enjoyable, and which must be removed?
So in order to remove graffiti, we would require a waiver from the property owner to do that, and we do not remove murals.
And it's always based off of waivers of property owners.
That's
And what if it's city property?
City property, we would go in and treat it as we would clean it. And again, we would use discretion if it's a mural or a dedication, we would take.
Got it. So there's no standard of like what's tolerable or perhaps enjoyable. It's just whatever we feel today.
We're not art critics by design. It's not our job. But there are, of course, programs for someone who would like to create a mural on city-owned property.
Sanitation vehicles. What does DSNY do to eliminate the occurrence of trash juice and trash debris spilling from collection trucks?
Thank you. It's a good question. Our trucks are equipped with a couple of different mitigation factors to keep that from happening. One would be a tailgate seal between the tailgate of the truck and the body of the truck, and another would be the hopper plug to catch any juice, as you said, from coming out. Going back to 2007 when I was a garage supervisor, that was part of my responsibility in making sure that the hopper plugs were in and the tailgates were being maintained on a routine basis to ensure that the hopper juice wasn't being sprayed out from the side of the trucks.
Are DSNY sanitation workers required to sweep glass or debris from the street that result from collections?
Sanitation workers are required to sweep all and any debris that happens during collection operations, yes.
Are all DSNY collection trucks equipped with a mechanism to collect juice that results from refuse and recycling collections?
Equipped to catch the juice? No, just the ones that I just spoke about.
What is the current status of the city's order on sanitation trucks which can accommodate on-street containers. As we know, I think we have a shared goal here of containerizing trash citywide, and as we do that, the ramping up of these trucks, it's going to be very important. So, can you speak to that?
Sure. Commissioner Goodman?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Chief. Thank you, Mr. Chair. So the first 16 trucks, the ones in use in
M9.
Manhattan Community District 9, were built on an R&D clause in our existing truck contract. To go beyond that, we need to procure a full contract in order to do it. And that procurement is happening now. We're actually expecting the initial bids back later this month.
And for the record, when does that bid close?
I believe it's September 23rd.
I
but
believe
obviously
next
it's
Tuesday,
online.
right?
Yes, it's online in the city's procurement system.
Does DSNY still take the position that there's no manufacturer in the U.S. which can make these trucks?
That was our position, and we believe it was the case. It is no longer the case because we created the market with the M9 pilot.
Is DSNY contracting with a single manufacturer for these trucks?
We're going to review the bids as they come in.
How does the agency anticipate changes in federal tariffs or other similar conditions to affect the city's ability to procure these trucks?
It's really too soon to say what components of a truck might be tariff eligible or not, what manufacturers might be domestic or international. It's obviously one of the things that we'll have to be looking at.
And will the applicants to these RFP, is there something in that application that would require them to disclose that? Or?
Well, pricing is part of the contract.
Okay. E-waste. At what frequency do battery-related fires occur in sanitation trucks and at DSNY waste processing facilities?
It's a good question, Chair. Thank you. Right now, it is trending frequently.
How frequently?
So in trucks in 2024, there were 49. And 2025, there were 39 truck fires that were caused by lithium-ion batteries. That was confirmed by FDNY. And in DSY facilities, there were 4 fires since 2022, but those were not confirmed to be lithium-ion batteries. DSY vendor facilities, there have been fires every year. 2024, there's been 90, and 2025 to date, there's 80.
That is a scary figure. What can we do to help prevent the rate of these fires? And does the e-waste building program include lithium batteries?
So, yes, lithium-ion batteries are part of e-waste. They can be disposed of properly through some of the outlets that I mentioned earlier, through our safe disposal sites, and we also do a lot of messaging to the public as to how to properly dispose of these batteries. We urge people to dispose of them properly. A lot of times we find these batteries, in my experience, to make it into the waste stream inadvertently. It's not very often that you would just see a battery on the curb. A lot of these batteries are internal pieces to other mechanisms, and that's how these things really happen.
Is there any legislation that you think the council should be exploring together with DSNY to help bring down what we're seeing?
We should definitely look at it together. I mean, there is an existing EPR that covers a lot of battery type extended producer responsibility legislation that covers certain kinds of e-waste. The council, it was actually council legislation that led to the increase in days that the special waste drop-off sites are open. So things like that improve access in a revenue and cost neutral way are certainly things that we could look at together.
Thank you. Thank you. This panel is excused.
Councilmember, to follow up on your request earlier about the West Side Highway, it was cleaned 7 times in the last 12 months.
I now open the hearing for public testimony. I remind members of the public that this is a government proceeding and that decorum shall be observed at all times. As such, members of the public shall remain silent at all times. The witness table is reserved for people who wish to testify. No video recording or photography is allowed from the witness table. Further, members of the public may not present audio or video recordings as testimony, but may submit transcripts of such recordings to the Sergeant at Arms for inclusion in the hearing record. If you wish to speak at today's hearing, please fill out an appearance card with the Sergeant at Arms and wait to be recognized. When recognized, you will have 2 minutes to speak on today's hearing topic, strict cleanliness or any of the legislation on our agenda today. If you have a written statement or additional written testimony you wish to submit for the record, please provide a copy of that testimony to the Sergeant at Arms. You may also email written testimony to testimony@council.nyc.gov within 72 hours of this hearing. Audio and video recordings will not be accepted. For our first panel, we're going to call up John Sheba, Josh Canero, Eric Goldstein, and Janelle Scott. If you hear your names, come on up. Justin Wood, you can come up too. And Lacey. All right, we'll start with Janelle.
Hello? Okay. Hi, good morning. My name is Janelle Scott, and I'm the climate director at Align. We are an organization that brings together labor, climate, and community for a more just and sustainable New York. And I'm here testifying on behalf of the Transform Don't Trash Coalition as well, which is a coalition that has been working to fight and transform New York's commercial waste industry for over 10 years. So today, we just want to say thank you to Chair Abreu and the members of the Sanitation Committee for the chance to testify today. I'm here to testify in strong opposition to Intro 1349 because we believe this is a wholly unnecessary legislation and that if passed, it would fully undermine Local Law 199, which is the Commercial Waste Zone Program. We oppose this bill for the following reasons. One, it would provide a broad exemption to healthcare facilities and other generators of medical waste by redefining the definition of commercial establishment, and that would include any generator of regulated medical waste. And this is something, as we've heard earlier, is already excluded from the Commercial Waste Zone Program and already permits hospitals, nursing homes, and other generators of waste to contract with any specialized medical waste hauler of their choosing. Secondly, hospitals and healthcare facilities generate a massive amount of non-medical waste, and so further exempting them from the law doesn't incentivize them to reduce their waste, and it further hinders the full benefits that we would see from the Commercial Waste Zone Program. Thirdly, exempting medical waste facilities undermines the extensive RFP process that DSNY has already undergone, which vetted numerous haulers that were assigned various zones. And this process also ensured that the haulers had environmental and worker safety practices and that their quality of service was up to standard. And so that means that any facility could either choose a hauler that was not approved in this process or choose a hauler that received a different zone in a completely different area. And so that would also not realize the benefits of the Commercial Waste Zone Program. I have just one more short paragraph.
You can finish.
Thank you. And then lastly, something that we'd also like to note around the affordability notes that were mentioned earlier is that price was a key factor that was within the DSNY selection criteria. And this was done in order to maximize the affordability for all businesses and entities across New York City. And so the Commercial Waste Zone Program will definitely protect customers from unreasonable price increases in waste services by setting maximum prices and also permitting customers to negotiate those prices with the designated haulers that have been assigned a zone, so they're able to choose a price that works for them or to negotiate a price that works better for them. So thank you for the opportunity to raise our concerns, and we look forward to working with the committee to create a higher standard for environmental safety and customer protection. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony.
Good morning. Good morning, Chair Abreu and Council. Thank you for holding this hearing. I'm Eric Goldstein, New York City Environment Director at the Natural Resources Defense Council. NRDC strongly opposes Intro 1349, which would exempt a broad category of waste generators, hospitals, labs, doctors and dentists' offices, veterinary offices, nursing homes, from the city's landmark commercial waste zone statute. This bill would create a giant loophole in one of the most important solid waste reform statutes passed by the council in recent decades. It would be flatly inconsistent with Local Law 199 of 2019 to reduce unnecessary truck traffic and improve public safety. In enacting the commercial waste zone statute, the council specifically considered how to deal with medical waste and which generators of what waste should be excluded from coverage under the law. The council concluded that commercial waste covered by the waste zone statute would include trade waste, which is all putrescible and non-putrescible waste from commercial establishments, but not medical waste. However, when the council excluded medical waste from the waste zone system, that's very different from excluding generators of medical waste, as Intro 1349 would do. Intro 1349 is inconsistent with the objectives of the waste zone statute. It would increase truck traffic, it would increase congestion, it would increase air pollution, and it would undercut the economic model of the waste zone statute, which is premised on no more than 3 quarters per zone to handle trade waste. NRDC urges the council to send this ill-advised piece of legislation directly to the morgue, and we thank you for your attention.
I appreciate your testimony, Eric, always. Lacey.
Good morning, Chair Abreu, and thank you for holding this hearing today. I'm here representing Brooklyn Borough President Antonio Reynoso, who, as chair of the City Council Sanitation Committee from 2014 to 2021, created the Commercial Waste Zones program alongside DSNY. Today, he wants to join DSNY, labor unions, commercial carters, and the advocates in expressing his strong opposition to Intro 1349. While Borough President Reynoso has voiced continued frustration with DSNY's rollout of the CWZ program, he remains committed to its full implementation. When all 20 zones are active and operating, the city will see a dramatic reduction in truck traffic and associated emissions from the waste industry, safer streets, improved worker protections, and less waste going to landfills. These goals remain as important, if not more so, as when the CWZ bill became law in 2019. Yet Intro 1349 would dramatically undermine these goals. This bill would change the definition of commercial establishment in the CWZ law with the intent of exempting any business that generates medical waste from having to contract with a selected carter. This is simply not necessary. Medical waste is already exempted from the CWZ law due to its unique pickup and disposal regulations. It is true that medical facilities such as hospitals generate both medical and non-medical waste. However, it is not necessarily true that this means they must contract with more than one carter. Many carters within the CWZ program offer specialized medical waste services or have the ability through the program to subcontract with a hauler that can. Changing the definition of commercial establishment in the law is overly broad, such that it would exempt thousands of businesses citywide from complying with CWZ. According to the State Department of Environmental Conservation, regulated businesses that generate medical waste include hospitals, clinical laboratories, veterinarians, funeral homes, nursing homes, home health providers, physicians' offices, research laboratories, pharmaceutical companies, colleges and universities, blood banks, company infirmaries, and correctional facilities. This bill would create a dangerous precedent for carving out businesses from complying with the CWZ law unnecessarily, leading to more vehicle miles traveled, more greenhouse gas emissions, less oversight of worker safety and safe driving practices, and more waste in our landfills. Thank you.
Thank you, Lacey. Justin?
Good morning. Thank you, Chair Abreu. Thank you, Council. And thank you, members of the committee, for this opportunity to testify. I'm Justin Wood, Director of Policy at New York Lawyers for the Public Interest. We're already also a founding member of the Transform Don't Trash New York City Coalition. In addition to all of the reasons we oppose Intro 1349, because it would undermine the promises of increased safety, increased worker protections, increased recycling, waste reduction, better investments in recycling facilities, cleaner trucks, I wanted to stress that this broad exemption for the healthcare industry, which seems to be couched in a reasonable exemption for specialty hazardous medical waste, that's already exempt from Local Law 199, as we've established. And healthcare facilities like hospitals are actually massive generators, probably among the biggest generators in any waste zone and in our city of non-medical waste, including plastics, huge amounts of food waste, huge amounts of paper, and other materials, construction and demolition waste. So in excluding this entire industry from a law that's supposed to just now be implemented, and we're speeding up implementation, thank you, Chair Abreu, to your efforts, we'd be exempting some of the biggest producers of solid waste from a system that for the first time is going to require them to track how much waste they're producing. For the first time, incentivize the haulers and customers to work together to reduce those waste streams, and of course produce all of the benefits of increased safety, reduced vehicle miles traveled, reduced VMT. We've seen studies that show that about 85% of waste generated by hospitals is actually non-medical waste. I would also just say on a personal note, this is a huge industry, a huge employer in New York City. Most New Yorkers have experience as either patients or workers, and we can see there's a massive amount of low-hanging fruit to reduce food waste, plastics, paper, and everything else that you see inside a hospital. So we hope our colleagues in the healthcare industry would actually see commercial waste zones as an opportunity to start tackling these big challenges and producing public health benefits of reduced waste together. Thank you.
Thank you. This panel's excused. Aaron Piscopink, Andrew Dahl, Josh Harif, and Josh Canero. And if I butchered your name, my apologies. If you haven't filled out a speaker card, you may do so now with a sergeant at arms, if you would like to testify. And I'll start from my left. You may begin.
Thank you. Good morning, Chair Abreu. My name is Erin Piscopink, and I'm testifying today on behalf of the New York City Bid Association, where I serve as the association's co-chair. I'm also the executive director of the Soho Broadway Initiative in Manhattan. The Bid Association proudly represents all of the city's 77 bids. All of our bids are deeply concerned about compliance with the city's containerization mandate and Note Intro 1279, which is being considered today. One of the core services offered by bids is supplemental sanitation. Our clean teams sweep the sidewalks to remove debris and change out the corner basket liners. And while, as you noted in your remarks earlier, the trash we manage doesn't magically repel rats, but it is different in that it's not trash generated by the bids, it's trash managed. And without our efforts, that we would have a lot of overflowing cans, which were a major topic of conversation today, attract more rats, filthy streets in our busiest corridors, and increase the need for city services. You've heard from us many times over the last years. We've grappled with the DSNY rule that changes how bids operate, barring us from leaving bags at the corners as we've done for decades. In that time, we've continually expressed that we're not against moving toward containerization, but rather impressed upon the council and city agencies that there are challenges in operationalizing this at scale, particularly with funding. I want to thank you for your advocating for $5 million in the FY26 budget, which will allow more bids to become more compliant faster. The Bid Association has and will continue to work in partnership with City Council members and staff and DSNY as we ensure timely use of these funds and broad compliance with the mandate. As such, we're here today to share a point of concern in our ability to become compliant. Given the length of time it takes to contract with the city for discretionary funds, procure, site, deploy, and operationalize these containers, it's highly unlikely most bids will be in full compliance when the mandate fully takes effect in January. We take DSNY at their word and deeply appreciate the flexibility that they're providing in refraining from finding bids who are acting in good faith to comply. We understand good faith to mean any bid that's anywhere in the process actively working toward compliance. Thank you. However, this position is not codified, and we're cognizant that a new mayoral administration with a different understanding of compliance could take office on January 1st, leaving bids open to incurring fines as we keep the streets of New York clean and move toward compliance. This committee, DSNY, and BIDS share the common goal of keeping our streets clean and safe. Thank you for your time and continued support.
Thank you. And the bids have been really great partners in our success in achieving the $5 million for you all. And we want to also make sure that DSNY is getting the resources to the bids in real time to making sure that you all are able to comply. So I really appreciate your testimony.
Thanks. Good morning, Chairman Abreu. My name is Andrew Dahl, and I serve as the Vice President of Emergency Preparedness and Response at the Greater New York Hospital Association. And as you may know, we represent all public and voluntary hospitals here in New York City, and we're here to talk about Introduction 1349 and support that legislation. Our hospitals navigate a very complex system of over a dozen different waste streams and patterns, and that exceed just the clear bag waste as part of CWZ, and that includes infectious medical waste, controlled substances, radiological, and pharmaceutical waste, and so very complex. And as many of these waste streams are already regulated, much like the large number of regulatory requirements we have around sanitation and infection control to safely deliver patient care, our systematic approach as hospitals, we often use a single healthcare waste management service who understand those intricacies, can understand the different waste streams, and can responsibly dispose of all waste streams safely. And New York City hospitals, both large and small, operate networks throughout the city, and they traverse many different zones, and that has some complications to it. And where the law really is responsive to the needs of the hospital is the additional contracting and management that's required, which translates into increased costs for hospitals as it relates to waste streams. Hospitals are committed to the goals of the CWZ program, and this bill is not meant to undermine them. Hospitals have already made their waste management systems rather efficient, containerizing their clear bag waste and ensuring it is directly shipped to its final disposition directly without any intermediary. And that supports the goals of reducing carbon emission and truck traffic. And these are especially important today as we're facing financial headwinds with the recent federal passing of the One Big Beautiful Act. And as my colleague Elizabeth Wynn testified on Monday, New York State hospitals are facing over $8 billion worth of cuts over the coming years. And that's from lower health insurance reimbursements, Medicaid cuts, and increases in uncompensated care. So we feel it's prudent here to find any cost savings that hospitals can find so we can better direct those limited resources to where it matters most, treating patients and the staffing to support all of that. Thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you for your testimony. Next.
Good morning, Chair, and good morning, Committee. My name is Josh Harriff. I serve as the Market Vice President for Action Carting, a subsidiary of Interstate Waste Services. I want to thank you for the opportunity to deliver testimony respectfully opposing the adoption of Introduction 1349, a bill which intends to exclude generators of regulated medical waste from the Commercial Waste Zones program. The historic passage of Local Law 199 ratified specific goals for New York City's commercial waste and recycling industry, including a reduction in vehicle congestion and emissions, the standardization of safety-focused operational practices, and an elevated commitment to customer service through transparent rates and written service agreements. Intro 1349 actively threatens the achievability of Local Law 199's key goals by introducing unnecessary exemptions for commercial businesses and a viable loophole for non-awarded haulers to continue operating without CWZ standards. The broad exemption of any generator of regulated medical waste from the CWZ program is an overcorrection to a non-existent problem. Per New York City's Administrative Code, regulated medical waste is already exempt from the CWZ program. This distinction affords generators of regulated medical waste the ability to contract a specialty hauler to properly manage the specific materials collection and disposal. However, entirely exempting these establishments from CWZ requirements neglects the volume of commercial refuse and recycling that they still produce. Hospitals, nursing homes, veterinary offices, blood banks, funeral homes, tattoo parlors, and several other businesses produce regulated medical waste. However, they also produce non-specialty waste and recycling. Medical waste collection companies can continue collecting these customers' medical material without Intro 1349. However, this bill would allow commercial haulers without CWZ awards or standards to continue collecting non-medical commercial waste and recycling from these establishments, effectively contradicting Local Law 199's consolidation, operations, and customer service-focused goals. Furthermore, this workaround for commercial businesses would irrevocably fracture the enforceability of the CWZ program. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony.
Good afternoon, Chair. My name is and committee. My name is Joshua Carrero. I'm the business manager of Local 108. I'm here to strong opposition of Intro 1349. The commercial waste zone program has delivered real wins for sanitation workers, safety, safer jobs, better wages, and stable career opportunities. We should be building on that progress and not creating loopholes to weaken it. Regular medical waste is already exempt from the law. Hospitals and nursing homes can already contract with specialized companies for that waste stream. What this bill does is goes further and exempts entire healthcare facilities, even though most of their waste is ordinary trash and recyclables. For exemption would undermine the CWZ program by allowing big institutions to bypass safety and labor standards, undercutting worker gains, creating more truck traffic and emissions instead of efficient routes, stripping designated haulers of major customers and threatening their investments in cleaner trucks and better jobs. The council already weighed this issue when it passed Local 199. The bill reopens that debate and risks undoing years of progress. I urge you to reject Intro 1349 and keep CWZ strong for workers, communities, and for our environments. Thank you.
Thank you. This panel is excused. I will now call on John Sheba from Teamsters 813. Are you here, John? And Christopher Leon Johnson. You may go, Mr. Leon.
Yeah. Hello, Chair Abreu. My name is Christopher Leon Johnson, and I'm showing support to Intro 1370, which is sponsored by Stevens. And the reason I support this bill because why we have to submit this to it should be online. I think that this should be worked online, but at the same time, the sanitation department should be working on protecting the people that report this stuff because there are people that don't take it lightly when it comes being fined by any department, including OATH. And I'm fearing that people might get retaliated against with this bill if they start doing stuff online. And another thing I want to show support is to Intro 536 2024, hosted by Justin Brannon. I want to say this, that I think that certain food stores like Pret A Manger and any big box store that do business with the city need to be able to start giving out food to the homeless, excess food to the homeless directly instead of going through these nonprofits like City Harvest and Food Bank of New York City. I believe that any person that's homeless, I believe the nearest store that's around here is Starbucks. Right outside City Hall, they should be able to give out their bagels and any type of foods that is perishable to the homeless after they close or after a certain time, like lunchtime. I support this bill 100%, and I have 30 seconds left. I believe that the BIDs need more support with the city council, and they shouldn't be scrutinized by the city council for trying to do their best to clean their area and clean their neighborhood, because why do we give all this money to these nonprofits like the Doe Fund and all these that don't do this, only hire felons to do all the work instead of just giving money direct to the BIDs to do the work, and they can hire the felon themselves. And thank you so much, and enjoy your day.
Thank you for your testimony, Mr. Leon Johnson.
Yeah, thank you.
On Zoom, we have David Biederman.
You may begin.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman. My name is David Biederman. I'm testifying in opposition to Intro 1349. I'm the president of Biederman Consulting and serve as the sole industry representative on the Department of Sanitation's CWZ task force. And I provide safety training to commercial waste zone awardees on a regular basis, including as recently as last week in Brooklyn. The Department of Sanitation and others have testified about how Intro 1349 would undercut CWZ's efforts to reduce vehicle miles traveled, truck traffic, and emissions. These are all valid reasons to oppose this misguided legislation. Let me focus on another one: safety. Intro 1349 would interfere with one of the core goals of CWZ, which is improving worker safety for commercial waste collection employees and improving street safety for pedestrians, bicyclists, and other road users. Local Law 199 and the CWZ regulations issued by sanitation include stringent new safety requirements, including training, incident reporting, and telematics reporting. Why would this committee even consider creating an exemption from the law that allows companies to evade these requirements, which are today making New York City streets safer and have reduced accidents and fatalities involving the commercial solid waste industry? Sanitation is in the early stages of implementing CWZ, but one of its notable achievements already has been a substantial reduction in fatal collisions involving commercial garbage trucks operating in New York City. Prior to Local Law 199, there were 5-6 fatal accidents annually, with several workers killed. There has not been a private sector solid waste collection employee killed on a route in the 5 boroughs for several years, knock wood. The race to the bottom, to the extent that it ever existed, is effectively over. CWZ awardees incur substantial costs to comply with the safety requirements embedded in Local Law 199. This committee and the City Council should reject efforts to exclude companies that collect solid waste from medical waste generators from those obligations. As many have mentioned, this would create a huge loophole in CWZ, potentially exempting tens of thousands of customers from the program, and importantly, endangering
Thank
solid
you for your
waste collection
testimony.
workers,
Time has expired.
as well as 8.5 million New Yorkers. Thank you.
Thank you. Next on Zoom, we have Louis Dubuque.
There we go. Sorry about that. There we go. Sorry about that. Good morning, Chair Abreu, members of the committee. My name is Lou Dubuque, and I'm here on behalf of the National Waste and Recycling Association. Our members are the private haulers who make the commercial waste zone possible. Collectively, we service commercial customers across New York City, employing thousands of New Yorkers, investing millions of dollars to build safe, efficient, and environmentally sound collection systems. We strongly oppose Introduction 1349. This bill would exempt generators of regulated medical waste from the commercial waste zone system. While we recognize that medical waste is highly regulated at the state and federal levels, carving out entire categories of customers undermines the very foundation of the CWZ framework. The city created the CWZ under Local Law 199 of 2019 to bring order, efficiency, and accountability to the collection of all commercial waste. NWRA members competed for contracts on the understanding that all commercial establishments in a zone would be covered. Every exemption chips away at that model, eroding fairness and threatening the financial viability of the system. Hospitals and health facilities generate not just medical waste, but also large volumes of recyclables, organics, and regular refuse. By exempting them from the CWZ program, this legislation removes a significant customer base that helps support zone-wide operations and keeps rates stable for everyone else. That means fewer resources for recycling and organics diversion and higher costs for small businesses that remain inside the system. Perhaps most troubling, this bill would set a dangerous precedent. If one industry is allowed to opt out, others will surely follow. That would unravel the CWZ framework piece by piece, leaving us with a patchwork system that undermines the city's policy goals and destabilizes investments haulers have already made. In short, NWRA members have done everything DSNY and the City Council asked them. We competed, we invested, and we built operations around the promise of a fair, comprehensive zone system. Introduction 1349 would break that promise. For these reasons, we urge the Council to reject this bill and instead continue working with DSNY, BIC, and industry stakeholders to strengthen, not weaken, the commercial waste zone program. Thank you for your opportunity to testify today.
Thank you for your testimony. We now have Charles DiPolito on Zoom.
Thank you, Chair Abreu and council members, for the opportunity to speak on Intro 1349. My name is Charles DiPolito Jr., owner of Approved Storage and Waste Hauling, a commercial and medical waste carting business that has operated in the New York City region since 1996. I've appeared before this committee in the past to alert you to what I believe was a significant oversight in the CWZ program as it related to healthcare facilities, which is that the solid waste industry goes further than regulated waste categories and considers healthcare or institutional waste a special category Intro 1349 artfully recognizes that reality. Healthcare facilities can include hospitals, nursing facilities, and community clinics. Many generators, such as Northwell and Montefiore, are concerned about the CWE policy because they want to retain a single hauler for their vast network of hospitals, offices, and nursing homes, which in many cases span multiple boroughs. They're liable if contaminated or commingled waste arrives at a facility which is not permitted to handle institutional waste. And they're comfortable with the subset of companies with the expertise to differentiate regular medical waste from institutional waste that has been contaminated. And most urgently, they are getting hit by devastating funding cuts and do not want to undo the savings they've achieved by consolidating waste operations. Through Councilmember Dinowitz's proposed legislation, you're providing flexibility to the healthcare sector, which includes small community health centers, nursing facilities, in addition to larger hospital campuses. You're also ensuring these complicated waste streams are handled safely. I strongly recommend Intro 1349's passage and also recommend that when it passes, it takes effect immediately to ensure healthcare facilities have clarity as to the CWG program continues to roll out. Thank you all.
Thank you for your testimony, Mr. DiPolito. Seeing no one else in person or on Zoom signed up to testify, this hearing is hereby adjourned.